Laurence McDonnell in a compelling book titled Larry, Simply Larry. Now, in this book, he describes Father Larry as an amazing leader, an educationist, impeccable fundraiser, strict disciplinarian, and a simple priest and a saviour of many children in eSwatini for his advocacy and contribution in their education, in their health care, in their counselling, nutrition, and a safe living environment and shelter. Now, the author of the book, who is also Father Larry's former student, Elias Masilela, joins me now in studio to help us unpack this extraordinary tale. Mr. Masilela, a very good morning to you and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to you, sir.
Well, ideally, Father Larry would have been sitting on his couch right now with a coffee in hand, watching this interview as you pay tribute to his illustrious legacy. But then, unfortunately, he passed away on Christmas Day last year. But then this is actually a perfect platform to pay tribute to his legacy.
Yes, indeed. And I'm glad that you're starting at the end of the story, a continuation of a legacy that will never, ever die.
Yeah.
It is interesting that one of his greatest wishes was to die and be buried in Swaziland.
Yes.
And that wish was delivered on Christmas Day in 2018.
Yeah.
This is a man who left his home, that is country of birth, came to Swaziland with the aim of assisting and helping the people of Swaziland, in particular boys, and growing them into men. But when he got into the region, he got sucked into a series of battles for the liberation of 3 countries in the region.
Yeah.
So almost single-handedly, he was instrumental in the liberation of South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia.
Yeah. Take us through your first encounter of Father Larry. Yeah, I mean, you're one of his students there at Salesian.
Yes. My first direct encounter with Larry was in very late 70s, in 1977, when I crossed over from primary school at Salesian to high school. But he had always been this hovering inspiration, this hovering influence, even on the primary school boys. And it is very important that all the lessons that we learned from Larry were not instilled through corporal punishment.
Yeah.
They were instilled through quiet discipline. Everybody feared him, everybody revered him, everybody respected him. They taught us a lot of things. One of the things that they taught us that stands out in my life today, and I use it everywhere I go, is that in every decision that you have to make in life, there are 2 choices.
Yes.
The difficult right and the easy wrong. And they would tell us that whenever you make a decision, it is these 2 things that you have to worry about. And you can feel it in your gut when you're making the wrong decision. And you can also feel it when you're supposed to make the right decision.
Sure. And you also talk about how he had a fearless stance in fighting apartheid.
Completely fearless. Despite the fact that the Swazi government, or part of the Swazi government at that stage, collaborated with the Afrikaner government, in particular flushing out the ANC from Swaziland and getting other people arrested. He was very instrumental in accommodating teachers that came from South Africa, Namibia, and Zimbabwe to come and teach at the school, much against the preference of the Swazi government. He was also instrumental in accommodating a lot of South African boys that could not study in South Africa, had to leave for exile. Yeah. And their first point of contact was Salesian. Right. So effectively, Salesian was this fortress, this home away from home, this institution that gave freedom fighters the opportunity to either ply their trade or get themselves even more educated in preparing for a future South Africa.
And speaking of freedom fighters, in one of the chapters, you also made mention of his association with house number 43, Guamagogo. That's actually the Masilela family home that where you grew up, which has become a monument of some sort because it harbored some of the ANC stalwarts and ANC cadres from South Africa who sought refuge in Swaziland, including former President Jacob Zuma.
In fact, Larry is a spin out from one of the chapters in number 43, where number 43 was talking about South Africa's liberation from a Swazi perspective. And Salesians stood out. And in that book, we have a chapter entitled The Golden Age of Salesian. And that golden age of Salesian was actually fomented and actually developed further by Larry, who used that school as a platform to give the liberators an opportunity to hide, an opportunity to organize, and an opportunity to launch attacks into the country, South Africa.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, a Salesian school, I mean, it's safe to say it is a beacon of academic excellence. I mean, you and I are the products of Salesian school. So I want us to talk to us about how the school influenced some of the policymakers, some of the political leaders, both in South Africa, in Swaziland, and in the entire SADC region.
It's very interesting that the school, even though it was a boys' school, it was able to produce bishops, teachers, priests, political leaders, and business leaders. And the one business leader that stands out to me, which I learned about after writing the book, Larry, is that one of the founders of Netflix, which you all know very well, is actually a product of Larry.
Yeah.
So that is the impact that he has. It's not only in Swaziland or the region. His impact is global. Yeah. In the book, we say that his impact respects no borders.
It respects no borders, and yeah, may his soul rest in peace, and his legacy will live on. And I see you've been on a fierce marketing drive, marketing this book. So where can you get hold of it?
I don't call it marketing. I call it a missionary campaign.
Right.
Where we're actually trying to spread the gospel across the world. We've already had 11 launches, both in South Africa and elsewhere. Swaziland, India.
Okay.
In this year, we're looking at going to London, Dublin, and New York.
Right.
And we think that this is deserving of the story. The world is deserving of the story. We believe that every member of the human race should have a copy of Larry, should read Larry, should learn from Larry.
Mr. Masilela, thank you so much for sharing his story with us, and all the best with that.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was Elias Masilela, and he was speaking to us about his latest book titled Larry, Simply Larry, an offering that pays tribute to the life and times of Laurence McDonnell after he landed in Manzini, Swaziland back in 1962. Well, we invite you, all our bookworm viewers, the lone readers out there and those belonging to book clubs, to send us their favorite picks. And by doing that, you can find yourself joining us live in studio for our Sunday book review feature to talk about the books that you are currently reading or have read. All you have to do is simply to email, to Facebook, or tweet us a picture and the relevant caption by using our social media platforms. Use our Twitter handle at MorningLiveSABC or hashtag MorningLiveSABC. You can also tag us and send us a Facebook message at MorningLiveSABC, or you can simply send us an email at morninglive@sabc.co.za. Let's go for coffee now.